Hello. I don't know what's happening with my studio, so we'll see if anyone joins. That's why I'm vertical. Hello, welcome. Hello, how are you? There is something wrong with my studio on my computer, that's why I'm vertical and coming to you from my phone. I don't know what's happening. Hi, welcome, happy Monday. Hello. Hi, welcome. Eee! That's better. Happy Monday. Hello, hello, happy Monday. Sorry for everyone joining. Sorry for the vertical layout right now. I'm having issues with my studio, so I'll be fixing that today, my YouTube studio. And it's being very slow, so I'm coming to you from my cell phone. But that works, right? Hopefully everyone had a really good weekend. If someone said, if I was offered a job at Fox News, would I take it? I don't know about that. I don't know if I would want to work for like a big media corporation, a really big one. I feel like I would rather work for something a little bit more independent. But I don't know. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some interesting things that happened over the weekend and just now to show you that this whole, the whole liberal messaging is really failing. And so I wanted to look at that and what they're trying to do with this J6 committee hearing is looking pretty bad. So I wanted to go into that. We will talk about, whoops, there it is. Also just how the media is failing to report on certain things. A lot of shows really buried what happened with Brett Kavanaugh and the threat to his life that he had. And we'll look at Biden and we'll just have a little bit of fun. That's what we'll do. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is what happened over the weekend. And I think this is very significant because of who this is. On the surface, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but I believe it actually is. So this says, the fighter who has 4.3 million Twitter followers weighed in on the president's performance with a tweet Saturday listing Biden's accomplishments. Among them were record high gas prices, surging inflation, failing cryptocurrency, and the rest. Okay, so the person who tweeted this out is Jake Paul. I don't know if you know who Jake Paul, but yes, he's got like 4.3 million Twitter followers. He has millions of subscribers on YouTube. His audience is a very young audience. And this is someone that's not typically political and is very big on social media. He now does he do UFC fighting? I don't know, but he's been in some pretty big fights. Very influential among young people. And this is what he tweeted out on Saturday. He said, Biden's accomplishments. Number 1, highest gas prices. Number 2, boxing. Okay, thank you. Number 2, worst inflation. Number 3, plummeting crypto prices. Number 4, highest rent prices ever. Number 5, this is the best one, created new incomprehensible language. And he goes on to say, if you're reading this and voted for Biden and you still don't regret it, then you are the American problem. That's a pretty base tweet. So it said last week, the national average price for a gallon. Oh, by the way, this got like 150,000 likes, thousands of retweets. So this was seen by a lot of people and by his whole base. And we see this happening more and more and more. We saw it happen with Elon Musk and Russell Brand and all of these people that are very influential who would typically be seen as on the left or who have always identified as being on the left are now sort of waking up and saying these things. Oh, hello. It's light now. So it says Jake Paul's tweet garnered nearly 100,000 likes. It's more like 150,000 now. But Biden's supporters replied, oh, this is the good part. Biden's supporters replied by telling him he was out of his lane. Many told him Biden is powerless to destabilize soaring gas prices. Not true. Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz was surprised that Paul's third biggest critique of the administration is the prices of crypto going down. It actually is going down. I had a little bit of crypto. Not a lot, but a little bit. And it went down a lot. Paul could be watching Biden closely to help plot his own unlikely and very distant bid for the White House. Last year, he told Overtime he and his older brother Logan plan to run for president in 2032, although the plans appeared to be in their infancy. We're still figuring out, he said. I might be president. He might. I think we're going to flip a coin to see who gets to be the president versus vice president. I don't think they're serious. I don't see their political career going quite that far. But, you know, Donald Trump and Kanye West just opened the door for would-be unlikely hopefuls. He said, I'm running for president, but I'm not even 35 yet. My brother and I are running for president in 2032. That's when we'll be eligible. We're still figuring it out. Yeah, 2 million Pokemon cards. I might want to be president. Until then, Paul seems focused on his ring career, which is also considered unlikely when he was just a YouTuber prankster. So he got famous doing prank videos on YouTube. Anyway, my point is that regular people and people that are very influential amongst young individuals are starting to wake up and they're starting to speak their minds about certain things, and it's really interesting. So right now, what they are trying to push is this whole January 6th committee hearing, and I want to, oops, what is this? Sock puppet. So there was a graph that just came out by RNC Research, and it says, here it is Google Trends comparison for searches over the last 4 hours, the topics of January 6th and gasoline. So January 6th is a blue line that is all the way at the bottom, and prices of gasoline is a red line that is significantly higher than January 6th. And this is what they're trying to push on Americans with these hearings that are in prime time. They are prime time, much like a dramatic docu-series, as I call it. But the internet search poll shows that people are way more concerned with gas prices than they are about a January 6th committee. And in my opinion, it's almost, this whole January 6th committee hearing, all of these hearings, it's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face to anyone who witnessed the rioting that happened in all of 2020. It's a slap in the face to those people who saw what happened or who were researching what happened. And it's a slap in the face because all of these politicians who are so traumatized over J6, who are putting on these hearings, which in my opinion is just a dog and pony show, a lot of these same politicians never condemned the rioting that normal, regular Americans were affected by. In fact, some of them posted bail funds. They excused it. AOC, who is so traumatized over what happened on January 6th, even though she wasn't even in the building that it happened on, she's so traumatized and had to speak of her trauma that happened on that day. Yet she was the very same person that said that protests should not be comfortable. In fact, they should make people uncomfortable. That was what she said when regular Americans were terrorized by the rioting that happened all summer of 2020, myself included. So to me, seeing this dog and pony show is a huge slap in the face. Not only is it funny, it's insulting, because you didn't care when it was happening to me. You didn't care when it happened in my neighborhood. You didn't care when buildings in my neighborhood were being burned down. You didn't care about the 24 people that are no longer with us. You didn't care when they lost their lives. But now you want to make a whole show about January 6th and how this was an attack on democracy. And by the way, they won't mention what also happened in May of 2020 at the White House when there were protesters outside actually trying to breach the White House. They tried to light a church on fire. It got to the point where President Trump had to be taken to an underground bunker. They won't tell you about that. The fact that 150 officers were injured in May because of that rioting in Washington, D.C. alone, they won't talk about that. Or the over 1,000 officers that were injured in the rioting all across the U.S. They won't talk about that, or how that was the most expensive, over $1 billion worth of property damage. A lot of that property being small businesses. They won't talk about any of that. They only care about violence that is politically convenient to them. They only care about some violence. They don't care about all violence. And you see the same thing happening right now with Brett Kavanaugh. Critics blasted media. Only one network addressed Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's would-be assassin, who was apprehended outside his Maryland home on the Sunday shows. So no Sunday show covered what happened to Brett Kavanaugh except for Fox News. And you know that if this was a liberal justice, this would be everywhere. This, again, would be appalling and an attack on our democracy. But because it was Brett Kavanaugh, nobody cares. Steve Guest, special communications advisor for Senator Ted Cruz, called attention to the network coverage in a tweet. He said, how the Sunday shows covered the attempted assassination of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh via TV Eyes. So we put number of mentions of Kavanaugh. ABC's this week, 0 mentions. NBC's Meet the Press, 0 mentions. CBS's Face the Nation, 0 mentions. CNN State of the Union, 0 mentions. Fox News, Sunday, covered to the lack of coverage, and some noted that if the situation were reversed, the media coverage would have been very different. Independent journalist Greenwald tweeted, would anyone like to claim that if a MAGA supporter were arrested outside of Sonia Sotomayor or Elena Kagan's house with a huge arsenal of weaponry, saying that he was there to murder them and stop their votes on Roe and gun control, that this media data would be the same? Anyone? Tells you everything you need to know about the corporate media today. Shameful, Megyn Kelly added. Some networks appalled that Fox didn't show the January 6th hearing. A national security advisor to Cruz added his own perspective and suggested that the blatant omission of anything that did not fit a preordained narrative spoke to a fundamental problem in American media, one that ran much deeper than simple bias. This is what he said. This is why it's not quite right to talk about bias in journalism. Bias is when you have a story and you let your own views seep in. This is the granular institutional grind of uncountable people to make reality whatever Dems wish it is. Hard to see how that gets fixed. That's very true. They're basically they're concocting a reality that they want to exist. So it's not even bias as far as we're presenting you all the news and we're just giving you our bias on top of it. It's we're just going to pretend that some things didn't happen. So if I am your news source, you're not even going to know that this thing ever happened. We live in two different universes. Univi. So if you're watching CNN or CBS or ABC or NBC, and maybe that's where you get your news, you might not even know that this happened to Brett Kavanaugh. So in your world, this never even happened. Despite their lack of coverage, the man who was arrested near Kavanaugh's home, the Sunday shows on the major networks did manage to fill their respective hours. So what they fill their hours with? Oh, Pride Month. On ABC, there is a segment dedicated to Pride Month and the LGBTQIA plus status of the White House press secretary. On CNN, the coverage focused on the ongoing J6 committee hearings that, guess what, nobody cares about. We just talked about the graph that said people are way more concerned with gas prices than they are about something that happened over a year ago that we already know everything about. Hi, David. According to the Media Research Center's Kevin Tober, while failing to address Kavanaugh's would-be assassin at all, the major networks spent a combined of 1 hour and 33 minutes on the J6 hearings after dedicating primetime coverage to them as they were happening live. I just tallied the amount of coverage on the J6 committee hearings versus the Kavanaugh assassination attempt on Sunday shows. ABC, J6, 19 minutes, Kavanaugh 0. CBS, J6, 19 minutes, Kavanaugh 0. NBC, J6, 36 minutes, Kavanaugh 0. CNN, J6, 18 minutes, Kavanaugh 0. Someone says, AOC got more coverage when her life was in danger on J6. And keep in mind that nobody has condemned the fact that the addresses of these justices, J6 wins, the fact that the addresses of these justices were leaked. They were essentially doxxed. And no one in the White House even condemned that. What they did say was how outrageous the fact that R versus W might be overturned, but they never once condemned. Jen Psaki was asked. She didn't condemn it. Joe Biden didn't condemn it. Kamala Harris didn't condemn it. None of them condemned it. Speaking of Joe Biden, it's interesting because, you know, it's interesting interesting because a huge talking point in 2020, and this again, this just goes to show you they don't actually care about anyone. They care about narrative. They care about winning votes, because now all of a sudden they care about, gun safety. They care about people's lives, when all of 2020 they were essentially egging on the riots. They wouldn't condemn those either. They were chanting, defund the police. And now that crime is surging, they were trying to distance themselves. No, it was the Republicans that said defund the police. That was the talking point of some Democrats. Well, now, I guess Joe Biden has still been hosting defund the police activists. By the way, those are typically the activists that are friends with a lot of the progressive DAs that you see. We talked about Chesa Boudin was recalled last week, which was really good. George Gascon in Los Angeles is facing recall, which is good. Hopefully he gets enough signatures and it goes into an election in November. So it says right here, while the nation has been reeling from rising crime during the Biden administration, defund the police advocates have been visiting the White House or meeting with White House aides. White House visitor logs reveal. Some of the activists have included Rashad Robinson, the president of Color of Change, Carmen Rojas, the president and CEO of the Marguerite Casey Foundation, Latosha Brown, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter, and Tyleek McMillan, who serves as the National Director of Youth and College at Al Sharpton's National Action Network. So many people are twisting themselves into word pretzels, Rojas tweeted last year. They say we need justice in one breath, and not all police are bad in the next. We must be unwavering in our commitment to freedom. The best way to realize it is to defund the police and support abolition, period. This is what people need to understand about a lot of the leaders of Black Lives Matter. I'm not going to say Black Lives Matter activists, because I do think that a lot of activists don't really know what they're supporting when it comes to BLM. But the reality is, in a lot of the leadership of BLM, they don't just want to defund the police a little bit. They are complete abolitionists. And they'll admit that to you. If you straight up ask them, they want to abolish everything. They don't just want reform, they want to abolish. And he just said it right there. The best way to realize it is to defund the police and support abolition. There's a leader in Los Angeles that basically admitted this. She doesn't just want to defund the police. She wants to abolish everything. They want to abolish prisons. They want to abolish police departments. Rojas, that's who just said, the best way to realize it is to defund the police and support abolition, period. That's Carmen Rojas. Rojas visited the White House in December 2021 and appeared to meet with Nia Page, a special assistant to the then Biden advisor Cedric Richmond. Rojas Marguerite Casey Foundation has also featured Robinson on its board. Robinson also visited the White House last summer and reportedly met with Richmond. Color of Change pushed to dismantle and replace the Minneapolis Police Department in 2021. They created a petition titled, "Take Action, Defund the Police, and Invest in Communities Now." The petition states the Minneapolis City Council recently approved a potential ballot measure that would change the city charter and dismantle the Minneapolis Police. Now it's up to us to hold them accountable, push for further systemic changes. In March 2022, the Marguerite Casey Foundation tweeted, #defund the police. The post collected data on nearly 40,000 payments in 25 of the nation's largest police and sheriff's departments, with the past decade documenting more than $3.2 billion spent to settle claims of wrongdoing. Brown, according to the White House advisor visitor logs, and Fox News, has communicated with Vincent Evans, who worked for Vice President Harris's office. Referring to police reform, Brown stated, "It's kind of like having weeds in the yard. You can cut the weeds down, when you're mowing the grass, but until you uproot and kill the weeds, it will still take over your yard. In August 2020, Brown promoted a Defund the Police 101 teach-in event led by 2 other Defund the Police activists. McMillan visited the White House 4 times last year. He stated in a July 2020 blog post, "Police don't make communities safe, but opportunities make communities safe. And we're saying is that defund the police is a refund to the people." I do want to run for office one day. Well, you know, we're looking at the results of defund the police all over the United States. We tried that experiment and learned rather quickly that it in fact did not work. And a lot of low income, high crime areas, they're happy with the police. In fact, a lot of them want more police. Because imagine being a single mom and raising boys in a neighborhood where people are selling drugs on the corner and there's gangs everywhere. Would you not want police? Imagine you're an elderly woman living in these neighborhoods. Would you not want police? It is one of the dumbest things. And that's what you have to understand about a lot of these defund the police individuals. They are complete abolitionists. They want to abolish everything. So we're already sort of experiencing that in Los Angeles, where you have a prosecutor who doesn't prosecute crime. They did defund the police by $150 million. By the way, 2 of the departments that were defunded, one of them was the gang unit. Another department that was defunded was the special victims unit, which handles trafficking, which is the biggest crime industry in the entire world. That's the department that handled Harvey Weinstein. So, and again, you have in one breath, hashtag Me Too, we need to protect women. And then in the other breath, you want to defund the very department that investigated Harvey Weinstein and that investigates trafficking. Also, at one point in time, I'm not sure if it still is, Los Angeles was the gang capital of the United States of America. So you would think that they maybe might want to have a gang unit. Because when you that money has to come from somewhere. Anywho, speaking of some crime, let's talk about the border. That's still happening. Notice the left never wants to defund federal level police. Yeah, that was actually a theory among a lot of people. And it makes sense. The theory was that they want to defund local police and have basically just federal police, which would mean that our federal government would have more power and control. Yeah, what border? What border? Exactly. Okay, I'm going to play this audio, and then I have an article where I've actually been speaking to a Border Patrol agent as well. He works in Yuma, Arizona. So this is Bill Malugin. This is today. He was on Fox News. Bill Malugin. He used to work for Fox LA. Now he works for Fox National. I guess that's how you say it. And he's been on the border basically since the very beginning, since Biden took office. And this is his reporting. So hopefully you can hear it. Hold on.
Rio, what you're looking at are busloads of migrants that started showing up late in Acuna yesterday afternoon. These are migrants from that
Texas. Bill Malugin is there in Hidalgo this morning for us. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Dana, good morning to you. That's right. Look, the video we're about to show you is yet another reminder that at any given time, there are thousands upon thousands of migrants in Mexico waiting to cross into the United States. Take a look at that video right now. We went into Reynosa yesterday. This is a Mexican border city directly across from where we are here in Hidalgo. And what you're seeing are thousands of Haitian migrants waiting in Reynosa. This is a single file line, almost as far as the eye can see, of over 1,000 Haitians waiting to get into a local migrant shelter there. Several hundred Haitians are already living inside of that shelter. Many of these Haitians left Haiti years ago, have been living in South American countries, predominantly Chile and Brazil. For whatever reason, they've decided now is the time to try to get to the U.S. And we talked to the director of that shelter yesterday. He told us the numbers he's dealing with right now are overwhelming. Take a listen.
This is the result of people thinking the border is open. We are not equipped to handle this capacity and tend to thousands and thousands of families.
And then this video you're looking at right now was sent to us by one of our contacts in Ciudad Acuña, the Mexican city directly across from Del Rio. What you're looking at are busloads of migrants that started showing up late in Acuña yesterday afternoon. These are migrants from that caravan we've been talking about over the last week or so. These buses started pulling up. They were promptly met by Mexican law enforcement and immigration officials. They were detained and taken elsewhere. They were not allowed to cross. We'll keep tabs on that. Last thing we'd like to show you, this video out of the Rio Grande Valley here. We shot over the weekend. We embedded with Texas DPS, tracking down runners in the pre-dawn hours. There have been more than 20,000 illegal crossings here in this sector the last 2 weeks alone. You see this group of young men arrested. Interesting, one of the guys spoke perfect English, told us he was from El Salvador, and he was a dreamer. Told us his parents brought him to the United States when he was only 9 months old. He grew up here in the U.S., ended up getting in trouble, committed a crime, went to jail, got deported. He tried coming back. He got picked up. He will be removed. Just another typical weekend down here in the Rio Grande.
Just another day in paradise. So here's a little write-up of what Border Patrol agents are actually experiencing. So this is exclusive from Austin, Texas. The Washington Examiner. U.S. Border Patrol agents stationed along the southern border have nothing left in the tank. How could you? For months, agents have warned that morale within the ranks of the federal law enforcement organization is sinking, but the last shreds of spirit have since been dashed by outright animosity from the Biden administration, agents told the Washington Examiner. Under Biden, things are the worst they have ever been by far, said one agent who is based in Arizona. That's the agent I talked to is based out of Yuma, Arizona. Agents are calling in all the time. You always hear it doesn't matter or what's the point in reference to doing our job. Agents are afraid of ending up on the news for doing their job and getting in trouble for doing their job. There is no morale. 8 agents and managers assigned to the southern border spoke with the Washington Examiner under the condition of anonymity about their experience working during the largest migration event in U.S. history. The physical workload has been brutal as the change in policies from President Donald Trump to Joe Biden. But the biggest factor in the demoralization of the Border Patrol has been the feeling that Biden have demonized agents for enforcing immigration laws that lawmakers like him passed in Congress. Border Patrol agents were deemed the heroes of the Uvalde school massacre in Texas after they ran into gunfire and fatally shot the Robb Elementary School gunman while local law enforcement refused to act. Despite this, agents said Biden has yet to thank them for stepping in, even though Biden was quick to condemn them last September over reports that a mounted agent allegedly whipped a Haitian migrant trying to enter the U.S. from Mexico. Del Rio pissed us all off. Uvalde just adds to it. I think at this point, we are beyond pissed. We expect Biden to continue to attack us, making a concerted effort to ignore What we did is expected. A second agent said the administration's response, as well as the lack of conclusion in the investigation into the Border Patrol whipping incident, have been a major morale killer, more so than their workload. All they have done is basically stomped on us from the get-go. They have condemned us on every turn. People are pretty much fed up with how this administration is treating Border Patrol agents because all we've been doing this whole time is what they've told us to do, which is really bad policy. Since Biden took office in January of 2021, the number of non-citizens apprehended attempting to sneak into the country or denied admission at a port of entry has increased threefold, topping 200,000 encounters per month on numerous occasions. Conservatives have blamed the record high numbers on Biden's decision to reverse policies put forward by the Trump administration, while Democrats have pointed to tanking pandemic economies across Latin America as having prompted millions to flee to the U.S. and other countries. More than 2 million migrants were stopped while attempting to enter the U.S. from Mexico illegally in the calendar year 2021, an astronomical figure. Of the 2 million, roughly 1.1 million were immediately expelled back to Mexico or flown to other countries. Some attempted crossing multiple times, inflating the numbers, but nearly 800,000 were released into the U.S. That's almost a million. Border Patrol agents have complained about a lack of interest or enthusiasm for the job before, including during lower spikes of illegal migration under Trump. However, agents have said they felt supported at the end of the day, even to varying degrees under President Barack Obama, despite budget cuts to the agency. So they actually felt more supported under Obama, even though there were budget cuts. One agent said, "When I joined under the Bush administration, my morale was at an all-time high, and so were my peers. We did our job. Then Biden came around. The morale sunk due to the administration's policies, but we were still able to somewhat do our jobs." Said a third agent, this one from Texas. He recently spoke to other agents at choir practice, a term referring to a cookout where oh, thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So he recently spoke to other agents at choir practice, a term referring to a cookout where attendees spend time together venting. And they talked of struggling to get up and mustering energy to go to work. I can only imagine seeing how the border is not only completely out of control, there's really not much you can do, but then to not feel supported and even demonized from the very administration that you work for. Thank you very much, Gary. I mean, how would you feel? That's what I would ask this Border Patrol agent that I've been in contact with for a while. We message back and forth, and I ask him, like, how do you go to work every day? And he just does. I don't understand. A fourth agent described work as nothing more than a paycheck and sometimes a source of guilt, because it feels like we're committing a crime by allowing all these people into our country. Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you not feel like you're aiding and abetting in crime into the destruction of the country by letting all these people in unvetted, flying them and busing them all around the country? Versus expeditiously removing them or transporting them to Immigration and Customs Enforcement for detention through the duration of immigration proceedings in court. Many agents voiced frustration that leadership in Washington at the agency and department levels continues to maintain that agents have operational control, meaning that they are aware of and can respond to any illegal activity. An agent who quit last year wrote in his resignation letter that the job had become unrecognizable, as the majority of agents on a shift were no longer patrolling the border, but transporting, intaking, and releasing people who had illegally entered the country, a federal crime. He said, "We're getting overwhelmed. Then, We're locked inside with these people and processing, leaving the line way open, or with only 1 to 2 agents out there, which is an officer safety issue. A 5th agent said, referring to the line where agents are normally assigned on the border, since smugglers are used to getting away, when an agent decides to initiate a vehicle stop, they take off and lead to crazy pursuits. He claimed that the Biden administration was sugarcoating their work and bending to the narrative to make yourself or the administration look better. The number of deaths of non-citizen in Border Patrol custody has spiked, given the rise of people being taken into custody, as the number of people released from custody, as well as the number of people released from custody. Agents do not see a positive change in the current situation on the horizon, but rather harder times in the coming months as the pandemic public health policy that affected border operations is rolled back. And with it, the Border Patrol's ability to turn away roughly half of all illegal immigrants. CBP did not respond to requests for comment. And it's crazy too, because every time we start to get a little bit of good news, for instance, if a court does a ruling, like one court ruled that they couldn't get rid of Title 42. Another judge ruled that they had to re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy. But the truth of the matter is, this administration, just because there's a court ruling, doesn't mean they're following it. And that's basically what this article right here that I just pulled up on Zero Hedge is saying. It's undeniable that Democrats want an open southern border. All of their policies and demands show that this is the case. Not only that, but they viciously attacked any attempt to pass voter ID laws, which correlates rather well with their immigration stance. During the COVID pandemic, the only meaningful government intervention was the actual enforcement of border protections and expulsion of illegal immigrants under Title 42, as common sense and the law requires. However, with the COVID doomfest over, Democrats returned, calling for Joe Biden to end the border protections and open the floodgates. Biden did them one better and initiated a policy through the Department of Homeland Security that was designed to greatly limit which illegal immigrants Border Patrol officers and ICE agents were allowed to arrest and deport. So what happened, I don't know if we talked about it on this channel, but what essentially happened is the Biden administration attempted to put limits on who they were allowed to deport, which heavily restricted Border Patrol agents from being able to do their job. So it says here, luckily that order has now been negated by a U.S. District Court Judge Drew Tipton in Texas, who states that the DHS had no authority to issue a September 2021 memo which directed immigration officials to focus only on illegals that were deemed a threat to public safety or national security, and those illegals were in the midst of crossing the border. In other words, they were to ignore any illegals that have already managed to sneak in the U.S. One could argue that all illegal immigration is a threat to national security. Exactly. Judge Tipton added that the memo was enacted in an arbitrary and capricious, is that how you say it? Fashion, contrary to federal administrative law. During Title 42 enforcement, a COVID-era border protections, Border Patrol agents expelled over 1.6 million illegal immigrants from the U.S. After Biden's new policy initiatives, illegal immigration rose over 1 million people as the rate of border crossings is climbing. Democrats now argue that the war in Ukraine justifies open border initiatives because of asylum seekers. But such asylum seekers represent a tiny minority of actual immigrants coming into the U.S. and an even smaller percentage of illegal immigrants crossing the border without going through proper channels. Furthermore, Ukrainians are not special and should have to go through normal asylum processes like any other immigrant. There is no excuse for illegally crossing into the U.S. The Biden White House now faces over a dozen separate lawsuits over its destructive border rules and blatant attempts to hinder and cripple border officials. So this is very, 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 very important to understand. About 90, probably even more than that, about 90% of the people coming over the border do not meet asylum status. They are economic migrants. This is what Democrats will try to do. They'll say, oh, we need to take these people in. We owe it to them. We have to help these people. Who are you really helping, though? Here's some numbers. There are 700, they say we have to help people escaping climate change or asylum seekers or refugees. The people coming over the border are not the ones that meet asylum status. There are 700 million people in the United States that live under $2 a day. There are 1.9 billion people that live under $3.20 a day. So these are the people that live in extreme poverty. None of those people are the ones that are coming over the border illegally. None of those people are the ones coming over the border and claiming asylum. So are we helping anyone by having an open border? The ones who are coming over are the ones who are able to pay smugglers. If you live under $2 a day, if you live under $3.20 a day, you don't have a couple $1,000s to pay a smuggler. And that's what it costs to come over the border. It's people that have the money to pay smugglers, and it's people that are able-bodied enough to make the trek through Mexico to the border. So the sick, the elderly, and the poor are not who are coming over the border. It's the people that are able-bodied, able to work, and able to help the countries that they're coming from. They're leaving the sick, the elderly, and the poor behind. So does that help the countries they're coming from, or does that hurt the countries they're coming from? Even the president of El Salvador actually sat down with Tucker Carlson, and he said, you know what, like El Salvador for a long time, it wasn't good for our people. The economy was bad, crime was really bad. And he said, but now the economy is getting better and the crime is getting better, but all of this mass migration is taking our able-bodied people, the ones that could help make it even better, the ones that could help our country, and our sick and our poor. They're leaving. Those are the people that are leaving. The Dalai Lama himself said the proper way to address mass migration are to take people in, teach them, give them education, give them resources, and then have them go back to their countries so that they can help better their countries. What happens when all the able-bodied people leave their countries and come to the US or go to Europe or wherever it is that they're mass migrating to, and they leave all the sick and the elderly and the poor behind? What happens to those countries? And even right now, we are seeing insane amounts of, let's say we were to take in 2 million, let's say the US, we have what, 340 million people in the US? Something like that. Let's say we take in 2 million people a year. That's pretty radical. Even if we were to take 2 million people in a year, given the death to birth rate, hundreds of millions of people all of a sudden are born into that extreme poverty. So you are not actually, even if you take in 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, which would drastically change the demographics of the United States, it would exhaust a lot of our resources, aid, things like that. Even if you were to take in millions and millions of people, it would not even create a dent in the actual poverty that's happening around the world. Yeah, that is what they want. I just talked a lot. My mouth is tired. I talk so fast. I've been looking at a lot of footage from all of the Pride festivals, and what's really, so you guys know I used to live, do you agree with the Johnny Depp trial ruling? Oh, yes, I do. I watched a lot of the trial. I was really fascinated by it. Ever since Kyle Rittenhouse and some of the hearings that happened in 2020, I got really into watching trials. No, the open borders in Europe is backfiring. They took in a lot of migrants, and what was happening in Europe, this is what was happening in Europe. A lot of the migrants that were coming were war-aged men. So again, this just furthers my point. I'll get to Johnny Depp in just a second. This furthers my point that you're not taking in the neediest of the needy. You're not really helping people. A lot of what is pushing people to come to the U.S. and Europe is money, dollar signs. They're economic migrants, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but do it the right way. They were taking in hordes of war-aged, single, young men. How is that going to end well for anyone? Johnny Depp. Yes, I do agree with the Johnny Depp verdict. I watched, yeah, Europe, no, and they brought in just millions all at once. And what's really sad too is, you know, these migrants get preyed upon by smugglers as well, because smugglers are telling them, oh, you're going to go to the US or you're going to go to Europe and you're going to be rich, and they make all these promises, and then they get to the US or they get to Europe and they realize, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so yeah, we can have fun now. Let's talk about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. I did agree with the ruling. I thought that it was fair. They threw Amber Heard a bit of a bone by giving her a win on one of the statements on her side. So she got a little win, but definitely Johnny Depp came out way above. The thing, Johnny Depp not only won the court case, Johnny Depp won the court of public opinion. And she is having a very difficult time with this. A narcissist is, in my opinion, what she is. They cannot stand to have their reputation ruined. And so now she did some interviews. A few seconds was posted this morning, but I believe the next few days on Good Morning, I think it's Good Morning America, we're going to see some interviews with Amber Heard where she's basically blaming it on everything else. I wish she would get charged with perjury, honestly. I'm just so sick. I mean, this woman will not stop. She will not stop. Now she's saying it's social media's fault. It's everybody's fault except for hers. This is, hold on, this is a clip.
Look me in the eye and tell me that
Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair. Even if you think.
So that's what she's saying now. She's saying, this hasn't been fair representation. The reason Johnny won is because he's such a beloved actor. Social media has been very unfair. I don't think that's it at all. I think everyone was watching this trial and it was very clear that she was lying and that she defamed someone. But her dog stepped on a bee. It was just very clear that she was lying. And what this is, in my opinion, it's just karma. When you come out and you accuse someone of doing heinous things to you, ruins this person's career. And I'm not into celebrity gossip or stuff like that. But I remember when these accusations were first made, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did that. Because we are programmed to automatically believe the women, and she knows that. And she honestly thought that she could get away with it, and now she's realizing that she can't. It's not. As I went down the slide, I said, wee! That is the funniest video. There's this really funny video that someone did of her where they changed her, and she's on the court stand, and she keeps going, wee! This is karma. This is people being woken up to the truth. They see the truth. They watched the trial. They didn't believe you. And this is karma. I hate to say it, but, she brought this on herself. If she never would have lied, none of this would have happened. If she would have let it go, none of this would have happened, but she just couldn't help herself. So Amber Heard, this is a tweet. Amber Heard pre-verdict. I just want to move on and for Johnny to move on. Amber Heard on national TV this week. You cannot look me in the eye and tell me that my trial was fair. The narcissist craves attention. The victimology tour continues. And this is so funny because this is a woman that says, I am not a victim. I never want to be seen as a victim. Yet she's constantly crying victim. I'm a victim of social media. I'm a victim of a not fair trial. I'm a victim of everyone, she basically said today, all of Johnny's witnesses were paid by him. They were biased. So everyone in the world is lying except Amber, is basically what's happening. So Brian McPherson, he's been reporting on this trial for a while. He says, this is the exact thing that was testified to in court by Johnny Depp, Dr. Curry, etc. Amber Heard is never wrong, blames everyone else, insults everyone's intelligence, along with the legal process. Always a victim. She takes zero responsibility for any of her actions. This is very true. And this is actually one of the things that I think really hurt her. And I think the jury would have been a lot more sympathetic to her, but in court, she took zero responsibility or accountability for anything. Johnny Depp came in and he said, I said some really awful things. You'll see some text messages from me that I'm ashamed of. I said really awful things. I have a drug and alcohol problem. And he came out and basically said, I am not perfect. These are the things that I'm taking accountability for. She came out and said that she was absolutely perfect. She took zero accountability for everything. She had a thought up answer for everything. She took zero accountability. And I think that's one of the things that the jury picked up on. If she would have come in and tried to be a little bit humble, I think maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. But again, I'm sorry, but you made your bed and now you're lying in it. And she still can't take responsibility for it. It's really amazing. you know, someone that cares that much about their image, that is that narcissistic, can't stand to not have the last word. Yeah, the witnesses for Amber's side were a joke and not believable anyway. She had very weak witnesses. You know, she's claiming that all of Johnny Depp's witnesses were paid or they were randos that came in at the last minute. All of her witnesses were paid too. Wait, here we go. Here's another audio. Play. 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 Someone said, would the media stop trying to make the world feel sympathetic towards Amber Heard? There isn't an ounce of sorrow I have for that woman. She's an abusive human being and a compulsive liar. She deserves the negative connotations that come with that. Is anyone watching the insurrection hearings? No. I've seen a few clips of it, but I just refuse to watch that. I refuse to give it any ratings.
People feel they know him. So
Okay, this is why Johnny Depp won. Oh, now you're not going to play. The Bernie Sanders and Lindsey Graham debate is more interesting. Wait, is that a thing? How did I miss that? I didn't know that was a thing. I saw clips of it today. Wait, what? Bernie Sanders and Lindsey Graham. How? Lindsey Graham. No, enter. Oh, Bernie Sanders and Lindsey Graham face off in a Fox Nation debate. Oh yeah, that would be way more interesting than the J6 hearings. Yes, it's on Fox Nation. Did this already happen? How did I not know? Is it happening now? Wait. Oh, yeah. Okay, Bernie Sanders and Lindsey Graham, both former presidential candidates. I didn't know that Lindsey Graham ever ran for president. Will go head-to-head in a live debate on Monday at noon Eastern with Fox News anchor Brett Baer moderating. The one-hour event will stream live exclusively on Fox Nation. I'm going to have to watch that. I'm sure it's up there. So it already happened. I watched the debate. Nothing is going to come up. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of... I used to like Lindsey Graham. I'm not a big fan of his anymore. I'm really not. I was actually in a movie about Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you guys know this, but Bernie Sanders used to live in like a, what do you call it? Oh, he used to live on a hippie commune and they kicked him out because he wasn't doing his fair share. of chores. Like in the commune, everyone is supposed to do chores and stuff like that, and he didn't do his fair share, so he got kicked out, which is quite which is not surprising for a socialist. They typically don't like to do much. Yeah, he got kicked out of the hippie commune. He was bogarting his stash. I know exactly. He didn't. That's so perfect. He didn't contribute. Didn't see that coming. Did I ever audition or appear in a TV series? Oh yeah, I auditioned a lot, but no, I was never in a TV series. I did mostly films. Well, I was actually in, I don't think you can call it a series, but I actually did a little show for Blaze TV. That's Glenn Beck's channel, which isn't like TV, but we were, it was a conservative sketch comedy show, and we were called News Done Right. Oh, Hallmark material. We were called News Done Right, and we were on Blaze TV for a little bit. That's actually the same production company that we did the Bernie Sanders movie with. The movie is called Free Lunch Express. My leg is asleep now. Ow. Where does Hallmark hold auditions? LA too? I think some of them are in LA. But a lot of times, like a lot of movies, they won't film in Los Angeles, so they'll get a lot of their main actors from LA, and then they'll have like smaller parts where they will audition, like wherever they're filming, they'll audition local talent. Oh, this is funny. This is Sagar. Used to be on the Hill. The current cope on gas appears to be, yeah, but it's more expensive in other countries. Do these people realize Texas alone is bigger than every country in all of Europe? We drive more than any other country in the Western world, which heightens the pain for our average citizen. I'm so glad he said that, because I keep hearing that that's what people are saying. Oh yeah, well you should see the gas prices in Europe. Yes, but we drive more and we drive farther than most people in every other country. Okay, that's not on.
I don't blame them.
Here's Amber.
So you don't blame the jury? I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character, and people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that. Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your testimony or your evidence.
And again, how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth?
So you don't blame the jury?
That was Amber. So now it's the judicial process. All right, you all. That's everything I have for you today. Thank you for watching. That was fun. Hopefully everyone has a good rest of your Monday. Now that I know the Bernie Sanders, Lindsey Graham debate was a pile, I probably won't watch it. Maybe I will if I feel like laughing a little. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Yeah, she's never gonna take responsibility. Ever. Alright, have a really good day, everyone. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you.